For most of the last 100 years, a Jewish surname could kill a career before it even started. So some of Britain's most loved actors did something painful. They buried the names their families carried across oceans and out of danger. They picked safe, English-sounding names instead. Every star on this list hides a secret and a warning. Number 25. Davy K. He stood 4 feet 11 inches tall. The army turned him away in the war because of it. The story goes that an officer told him they would send for him when they declared war on pygmies. So the little man from Mile End made the whole country laugh instead. Davy K was born David Kodesh in the East End of London. His parents, Koppel and Dora, were Jewish. He was so small at birth that nobody expected him to live. He proved them wrong for 82 years. He dropped the name Kodesh and became Davy K. It was shorter. It was safer. It fit on a poster. For 14 years he was the resident late-night comic at London's Embassy Club, and he popped up on screen again and again in tiny, unforgettable roles. Off stage he was a giant. He raised more than £1 million for charity, including a fund named after his friend Bud Flanagan. The Queen gave him an honor for it. He hid a Jewish name to get the work. But he never hid his heart. Was that a fair trade or a small tragedy? Tell me what you think below. Number 24. Issy Bon. The Beatles put him on the most famous album cover in history. Look at the top right of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. That round-faced man is Issy Bon. Millions own his image and have no idea who he was. He was born Benjamin Levin in Whitechapel, the son of a Jewish butcher. His family hated the idea of the music hall. They shipped him off to Canada to cool his heels. It did not work. He came home and went straight back to the stage. First he tried the name Benny Levine. Then a radio producer suggested Issy Bon, and it stuck. He was billed as the Hebrew vocal raconteur. He sang sentimental songs and told jokes about a made-up Jewish family. He made over 1,000 radio broadcasts. Here is the twist that still stings. His act leaned hard on Jewish stereotypes, the very jokes the crowd wanted. By the 1950s, that style felt old and cruel, and it faded. He kept a new, softer name for the world, while performing an old version of his own people for laughs. Was he laughing with his community, or being made to laugh at it? That is a heavy question. Drop your answer in the comments. Number 23. Mike Winters. Half of one of Britain's biggest comedy double acts was hiding a secret in plain sight. His name was not Winters. It was Weinstein. Mike Winters was born Michael Weinstein into a Jewish family in London. His father was a bookmaker and boxer. His mother had worked in the circus. Show business was in the blood, and so was the fear that a Jewish name would slam doors. So the family name Weinstein became Winters. It sounded crisp. It sounded English. It gave nothing away. With his younger brother, he formed Mike and Bernie Winters, and they became a fixture on stage and on the small screen for years. Mike was the straight man, the smooth one, the musician who could actually play. Later he grew tired of the grind and moved to America, building a quieter life far from the spotlight that had once chased him. 2 Jewish brothers changed one name and split the difference between them. It was normal back then. Nobody blinked. That is the part that should make us stop and think. Would you change your family name to get a job today? Let me know. Number 22. Bernie Winters. He had a smile like a naughty schoolboy and a huge St. Bernard dog called Schnorbitz. But before the dog and the grin, there was a boy called Bernard Weinstein. Bernie Winters was born in Islington, London, into the same Jewish family as his brother Mike. One grandfather had fled Russia. The family knew exactly why a foreign, Jewish name could be a problem in the entertainment world of the day. So Weinstein became Winters. Bernie became the clown of the act, the loud one, the fool his brother pretended to be annoyed by. When the brothers finally split, Bernie did the bravest thing a comic can do. He went out alone, with only a giant dog for a partner, and he made it work. He was warm. He was daft. Audiences adored him, and almost none of them knew that the cuddly funny man had swapped away a Jewish surname just to be allowed on the bill in the first place. He gave the crowd endless joy. In return, the industry quietly asked him to hide who he was. Does that bargain make you angry, or was it just the price of the ticket? Tell me below. Number 21. Martin Miller. He fled Hitler with almost nothing. Then he built a whole new life, and a whole new name, on the stages and screens of Britain. Martin Miller was born Rudolph Miller in a small town that was once part of Austria. He was Jewish. He acted in Vienna and toured the small theaters of Central Europe. When the Nazis marched into Austria, his life there ended overnight, and in 1939 he escaped to London. The German name Müller had to go. It marked him as a foreigner, and worse, as a target. So he became Martin Miller, a name that could slip quietly onto a British marquee. And work he did. He played fussy doctors and mad professors in film after film. You have seen his face in The Third Man, in Peeping Tom, and in the very first Pink Panther. He even played a great Khan in the very first story of Doctor Who. He mocked Hitler on stage, while Hitler was still winning. That took nerve. A refugee with a borrowed name stood up and made the monster look small. Is a name you choose to survive still really a lie? Or is it armor? Share your view. Number 20. Arthur Howard. There is a second name on this list that started as Steiner, and it belonged to the little brother of a Hollywood legend. Arthur Howard was born Arthur Steiner in London. His father was a Hungarian Jewish immigrant. His older brother was Leslie Howard, the man who would become one of the biggest film stars in the world. We will get to him later. The whole family anglicized the name Steiner. Leslie carried it to Hollywood. Arthur carried it into a long and gentle career of his own as a character actor, best remembered as the timid schoolmaster Mr. Pettigrew in the classic comedy Wacko. He was never the leading man. He did not want to be. He was the nervous, kindly face in the background, the actor other actors loved to work beside. But he shared the same secret as his famous brother. The English name was a costume. The Jewish name was the truth underneath. Two brothers, one buried surname, and two very different kinds of fame. One blazed and one flickered warmly for decades. Which brother had the better life? The star or the survivor? I am curious what you think. Number 19. Vic Oliver. Vic Oliver, he married Winston Churchill's daughter. Churchill could not stand him, and the reason cut deeper than any father just disliking a suitor. Vic Oliver was born Victor Oliver von Samec in Vienna. He was Jewish, and the son of a baron. He was a gifted violinist who chose to play the fool, cracking jokes and playing badly on purpose to make crowds roar. He dropped the grand old name von Samec and became plain Vic Oliver. It was quicker, funnier, and it hid the aristocratic Jewish roots that could have made his life harder as fascism rose across Europe. His fame grew huge. He was the very first guest ever on the radio show Desert Island Discs. He toured, filmed, and broadcast for decades. But his name was on another list too. The Nazis put him in their black book, the role of people to be arrested at once if Germany invaded Britain. Think about that. A comedian, a violinist, a Churchill-in-law was marked for death simply for being a Jew who made people laugh. Should we remember him for the jokes, or for the target on his back? Let me know your answer. Number 18. Alfred Marx. He had a booming voice, a sharp wit, and a name the public never heard. That name was Tuchinski. Alfred Marx was born Alfred Tuchinski in Holborn, London, to Polish-Jewish parents. He left school at 14. He worked as an auctioneer in Petticoat Lane. He served in the Air Force in the war and arranged shows for the troops. Then he chased the stage for real. Tuchinski became Marx. It was clean. It was English. It was easy for a booker to say and a crowd to remember. Behind it stood a young Jewish man from a poor London street, who was very, very funny. He starred in his own television show. He acted in films and in horror pictures. On stage he played in Fiddler on the Roof, telling a Jewish story in front of the whole country, which is its own kind of quiet victory. He spent his life switching between big laughs and serious roles, always excellent, always in demand. But the name on the poster was never the name on his birth certificate. Does a stage name feel like freedom, or like a small daily surrender? Sound off in the comments. Number 17. Lee Montague. Directors called him when they needed a tough guy, a gangster, a hard man. The real story of that hard man begins with a tailor's son called Goldberg. Lee Montague was born Leonard Goldberg in Bow, in London's East End. His father was a tailor from Russia. His mother came from Lithuania. They were a Jewish immigrant family, and their boy had a gift for the stage that carried him all the way to the Old Vic. Goldberg became Montague. It was smoother. It carried none of the weight that a name like Goldberg could carry in a prejudiced business. And with his new name, the work poured in. He appeared in Billy Budd. He acted in Brother Sun, Sister Moon. He turned up in Mahler and in Jesus of Nazareth, working for decades across film, stage, and television. He almost always played the strong, dangerous type, and he played it perfectly. He lived to 97, a long, rich, working life. Yet the name that opened all those doors was one his family chose to make him seem a little less Jewish and a little more safe. Was the name change the smart move that built that career, or a loss? Tell me below. Number 16. Fenella Fielding. They called her England's First Lady of the Double Entendre. That husky, teasing voice belonged to a woman whose father did not even want her to act. And her real name was Feldman. Fenella Fielding was born Fenella Feldman in London. Her mother was a Romanian Jew. Her father was a Lithuanian Jew who managed a cinema. Both were Jewish, and both, at first, were against their daughter chasing the stage. The family name Feldman was anglicized to Fielding. It softened the edges. It made her sound less like an immigrant's child and more like a leading lady. And a leading lady is exactly what she became. She purred her way through 2 Carry On films, including the famous Carry On Screaming. The great Italian director Federico Fellini wanted her for a movie. She got her very first break by tagging along to an audition with a young actor named Ron Moody, who is also on this list. She was glamorous, funny, and completely her own creation. But that creation started by trimming a Jewish name down to something the crowds would find easy. Should she have kept Feldman and dared them to say no? Let me hear your thoughts. Number 15. Georgia Brown. She created one of the most famous roles in stage history, and she named herself after a jazz song, because her real name was Clot. Georgia Brown was born Lillian Clot in the East End of London. Her family were Russian Jews. As a young nightclub singer, she went looking for a stage name and found one in an old jazz standard called Sweet Georgia Brown. From then on, that was who she was. The name Clot vanished. Georgia Brown appeared, and with it came a career most performers only dream of. She was the very first Nancy in Lionel Bart's musical Oliver, both in London and on Broadway, where she earned a Tony nomination. Her voice is on the original recordings that people still play today. She acted in films like The Fixer and The 7% Solution. Here is the quiet ache in her story. She poured her soul into Oliver, a show packed with Jewish characters, using a name chosen to hide her own Jewish roots. The heritage was in the work. It was just kept out of the name. Do you admire the reinvention or mourn the hiding? Let me know in the comments. Number 14. Lionel Blair. For decades, he was one of the most familiar faces on British television. Everyone knew Lionel Blair. Almost nobody knew that his father changed the family name because of hate. Lionel Blair was born Henry Lionel Ogus in Montreal, Canada. His parents were Jewish, from Russia and Lithuania. When Lionel was still tiny, the family moved to Stamford Hill in London. His father cut hair for a living. And his father did something else. Facing the anti-Semitism of the time, he changed the family name from Ogus to Blair, hoping a British name would give his children an easier road. It worked. The little boy grew into a tap-dancing, all-round entertainer. He danced in A Hard Day's Night with the Beatles. He choreographed films. He hosted quiz shows and became a team captain that families watched every week. But the smiling showman on the screen was carrying his father's decision. The name Blair was not chosen for style. It was chosen out of fear that Ogus would be a burden in a country that did not always welcome Jews. Do you blame the father or understand him completely? I think many of us understand. Tell me below. Number 13. Miriam Carlin. She shouted 2 words that a whole nation remembered. But behind the loud, funny union boss on television was a woman whose family was murdered in the Holocaust. Miriam Carlin was born Miriam Samuels in Hampstead, London, into an Orthodox Jewish family. This is not gentle history. Members of her own extended family were later killed at Auschwitz. She carried that knowledge her entire life. The name Samuels became Carlin for the stage. It was a career choice, the done thing for a Jewish performer of her day. And under that name she became a star, best loved as Patty in the sitcom The Rag Trade, forever bellowing her catchphrase to down tools. You have also seen her in a much darker classic. She is the woman attacked in her own home in A Clockwork Orange, a small role you never forget. So here is the weight of it. A Jewish actress who lost relatives to genocide changed her name to be accepted, then spent a life making Britain laugh, all while knowing exactly what hatred could do. Does her story change how you see the whole idea of hiding a name? I think it should. Share your thoughts. Number 12. Alfie Bass. He fought fascists in the street with his fists before he ever fought them on screen. His name then was not Bass. It was Basilinski. Alfie Bass was born Abraham Basilinski in Bethnal Green, the youngest of 10 children in a Jewish family that had fled persecution in Russia. As a young man in 1936, he stood at the Battle of Cable Street, where Londoners blocked a march by British fascists. He knew what he was fighting for. The long Jewish name Basilinski became the short, snappy Bass. It was easier to say and safer to carry, and it took him to the heart of British film comedy. He robbed a bank with Alec Guinness in the Lavender Hill Mob. He starred in The Bespoke Overcoat, which won an Oscar. He played beside Michael Caine in Alfie, and became a television favorite as the work-shy soldier Bootsy. He was tiny, warm, and brilliant, a Jewish boy from the East End who charmed the whole country. But the name that made it onto the screen was cut down from the one his family carried out of danger. He literally fought anti-Semites, then softened his name to work. Brave, or sad, or both? Tell me below. Number 11. Bud Flanagan. This one is my favorite, because it is revenge. A Jewish boy took the name of the man who tormented him and made it beloved forever. Bud Flanagan was born Chaim Reuben Weintraub in Whitechapel. His Polish-Jewish parents had fled a pogrom, tricked by a crooked agent into landing in London instead of New York. He grew up poor above a fish and chip shop. In the First World War, he served in the army, and there he met a cruel sergeant major who hated Jews. That man's name was Flanagan. When the young soldier became a performer, he took that hated name for his own, a joke and a two-fingered salute all at once. As Bud Flanagan, he became a legend. With his partner, he sang songs that comforted a whole nation through the Blitz. Years later, his was the voice on the theme song of Dad's Army, still heard today. Think about the boldness. He did not just hide a Jewish name, he picked up his enemy's name and wore it until the whole country loved it. Is that the smartest revenge on this list, or a strange kind of surrender? Let me know what you feel. Number 10. Anton Walbrook. He shared a first name with the most hated man of the century. Being Jewish and being gay, he had every reason to bury it. So he did. Anton Walbrook was born Adolf Walbrook in Vienna. His mother came from a Jewish family. As the Nazis rose, a man who was part Jewish and secretly gay was in terrible danger. He left for Britain and never truly went home. He changed his name for 2 reasons. Walbrook was too German and too revealing. And Adolf, well, no one wanted to be an Adolf. So he became Anton Walbrook and reinvented himself as a star of British cinema. And what a star! He played the noble German in The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp. He was the cold, commanding ballet master in The Red Shoes. He was the sinister husband in the original Gaslight. He gave one of his film fees straight to charity, and he loathed the Nazis with his whole heart. A gay, part Jewish refugee dropped the name Adolf and became one of the finest actors Britain ever borrowed. His new name was Survival Made Beautiful. Should he be remembered as Austrian or as one of ours? I would love to hear your view. Number 9. Sid James. His laugh is one of the most famous sounds in British comedy. That dirty, wheezing chuckle came from a man born Solomon Joel Cohen. Sid James was born in Johannesburg, South Africa, into a Jewish family. His parents were vaudeville performers, so the stage was always calling. He worked in his home country before sailing for Britain to try his luck. The very Jewish name Cohen was set aside. He became Sid James, and that plain, friendly name helped make him the beating heart of the Carry On films. He starred in 19 of them, usually top of the bill. Before all that, he earned respect in real cinema, robbing a van in the Lavender Hill Mob and sparring with Tony Hancock on radio and television. He became so British, so cheeky, so much a part of the nation's Saturday nights, that people forgot he was a Jewish man, born on the other side of the world. That is the strange magic of the name change. It let a Cohen from Johannesburg become the cheeky face of English comedy. Do you think of Sid James as an outsider who fooled us all, or simply as one of the greatest? Comment below. Number 8. Ron Moody. He earned an Oscar nomination for playing one of the most famous Jewish characters in all of literature. The joke of history is that he had to change his own Jewish name to do it. Ron Moody was born Ronald Mudnik in Tottenham, London. His parents were Russian and Lithuanian Jews. He once said he was 100% kosher. His family anglicized the name Mudnik to Moody when he was a small boy. Under that softer name, he became a legend. He played Fagin, the pickpocket master in the musical Oliver, first on stage and then in the film that swept the Oscars. His Fagin was funny, sly, and oddly lovable. Sit with the irony. Fagin is Dickens's Jewish villain, a character many see as an ugly stereotype. And it was a proud Jewish actor, working under a name trimmed to hide his roots, who turned that character into a thing of joy and pity rather than pure hate. He reclaimed a cruel picture of a Jew and made it human, all while carrying a name built to draw less attention to his own Jewishness. Did he redeem Fagin, or should the role have been left alone? That is a real debate. Have it with me below. Number 7. Warren Mitchell. He played the most famous bigot in British television history. A loud, racist, ranting man. And in real life, the actor was a Jewish socialist named Missel. Warren Mitchell was born Warren Missel in Stoke Newington, London. His family were Russian Jews. He grew up left-wing, proud, and clever, the total opposite of the monster he would one day play. The name Missel became Mitchell when he chose acting as a career. It was the safe, English choice. Later in life, he admitted he regretted giving up the family name so easily. And then came the role of a lifetime, and a strange one. He played Alf Garnett, a foul, prejudiced working man who ranted at everything he feared. The show was meant to mock such bigots. The heartbreaking twist is that many bigots watched and cheered Alf as their hero. So a Jewish man who had hidden his own name spent years playing the exact kind of hateful character who might have hated him. He held up a mirror to prejudice, and some people just saw a friend. Was that role brave satire, or did it feed the very hate it mocked? I really want your take on this one. Number 6. Steven Berkoff. Hollywood hired him to be the villain again and again. He fought James Bond. He fought Eddie Murphy. He tortured Rambo. And the family name behind that menace was Berkowitz. Steven Berkoff was born Leslie Stephen Berks in Stepney, London, into a Jewish family with roots in Romania and Russia. The original family name was Berkowitz. His father had already shortened it to Berks, hoping to blend in and dodge prejudice. Berkoff did something rare. He took the trimmed name and pushed a little of the Jewishness back in, turning Berks into Berkoff, and using his middle name Steven. It was a small act of pride hidden inside a stage name. Then he conquered Hollywood as a bad guy. He was the plotting general in the Bond film Octopussy. He was the ruthless dealer in Beverly Hills Cop. He was the sadistic officer in Rambo. He even worked for Stanley Kubrick. He has always spoken loudly and bluntly about anti-Semitism, refusing to keep his Jewishness quiet. His whole career is a fight against being told to fit in. He restored part of the name his father hid. Was that pride, or stubbornness, or both? Tell me what you admire below. Number 5. Frankie Vaughan. Marilyn Monroe kissed him on screen in Hollywood. The boy she kissed was a poor Jewish kid from Liverpool named Abelson. Frankie Vaughan was born Frank Abelson in Liverpool, into a Russian Jewish family. He grew up tough, learning to box at the local lads' club. But he could sing, and singing carried him out of poverty. His stage name came from love, not shame. His grandmother called him her #1 grandson. In her thick Russian accent, one sounded like Vaughn. So Frank Abelson became Frankie Vaughan, and a legend was born. He became known as Mr. Moonlight, one of Britain's biggest singing stars. And then came the golden ticket. Hollywood called, and he starred beside Marilyn Monroe in the film Let's Make Love in 1960. A Jewish boy from a rough Liverpool street stood on a Hollywood set next to the most famous woman in the world. But the name on the credits was not the name his family carried out of Russia. His new name honored his grandmother, which is beautiful, yet it still smoothed away the Abelson. Was that a loss, or the sweetest kind of tribute? Let me know below. Number 4. Herbert Lom. His real name is so long it barely fits on a screen. So he opened a phone book, found the shortest name inside, and became that instead. Herbert Lom was born in Prague with a name that ran on forever. Herbert Kuchachevich ze Schluterpakaru. His mother was Jewish. When the Nazis threatened his homeland, he fled to Britain in 1939 to save himself. The name change here has a funny heart. He did not just want to hide. He wanted a name a poster could actually hold. So he flicked through a Prague phone directory, spotted the short word Lom, and took it. Just like that. As Herbert Lom, he became a star. He is the twitching, furious Chief Inspector Dreyfus in the Pink Panther films, driven mad by Peter Sellers. But he was far more than comedy. He appeared in Spartacus, in El Cid, and in the chilling classic The Dead Zone. A Jewish refugee with an impossible name chose the smallest word he could find, and made it famous around the world. Should he have kept his grand old family name and made them learn it? Or was the phone book trick pure genius? I would love your verdict. Number 3. Claire Bloom. Charlie Chaplin chose her, personally, to be his leading lady. The young actress he picked came from a Jewish family whose true name was Blumenthal. Claire Bloom was born Patricia Claire Bloom in Finchley, London. Her family were Ashkenazi Jews. Their name had once been Blumenthal, then it was softened to Bloom, and finally her mother trimmed it again to the very English Bloom. Under that name, she became one of the great actresses of her age. Chaplin cast her in his film Limelight in 1952, and it made her a star overnight. She went on to chill audiences in the horror classic The Haunting, to face monsters in Clash of the Titans, and to play a queen in The King's Speech. Watch the name shrink across the generations. Blumenthal, then Bloom, then Bloom. Each step made the family sound a little less Jewish, a little more accepted in a country that did not always want them. She never hid who she was in her heart. But the name itself tells a quiet story of a family slowly filing off its own sharp edges to fit in. Was that erosion of a name sad, or just survival? Tell me where you stand below. Number 2. Lawrence Harvey. He played the coldest, most elegant Englishman in Hollywood. He was not English at all. He was a Jewish boy from Lithuania named Skikne. Lawrence Harvey was born Zvi Moshe Skikne in Lithuania. His family were Jews who fled rising hatred, first to South Africa, and later he made his way to Britain. He carried 3 homelands and one heavy secret. When he tried to break into film, the studio said the name Larry Skikne would never sell. So his agent simply invented a new man. He borrowed the word Harvey from a posh London shop and paired it with Lawrence. Skikne was gone. A star was made. And what a star. He earned an Oscar nomination for Room at the Top. He was the brainwashed soldier in The Manchurian Candidate. He stood beside John Wayne in The Alamo. Hollywood loved his cool, upper-class charm. But it was all a beautiful mask. The refined gentleman on the screen was a Jewish refugee whose real name was thrown away by a business that decided it was worthless. They erased Skikne because it sounded too Jewish and too foreign. Does that make you angry on his behalf? It should. Tell me below. Number 1. Leslie Howard. He was the perfect English gentleman on screen. Millions saw him as the soul of Britain itself. The secret is that he was the son of a Hungarian Jew named Steiner, and he died fighting the Nazis. Leslie Howard was born Leslie Howard Steiner in London. His father was a Hungarian Jewish immigrant. As anti-German and anti-Semitic feeling rose during the First World War, his family softened the name Steiner. In 1920, he made it official, becoming simply Leslie Howard. Under that gentle English name, he became one of the biggest film idols in the world. He was Ashley Wilkes in Gone with the Wind. He was the dashing hero of The Scarlet Pimpernel. He was the professor in Pygmalion. He was, to audiences, the very picture of a calm, noble Englishman. But he never forgot who he was. He made powerful films against the Nazis. He used his fame as a weapon in the war. And in 1943, the Germans shot down his plane over the sea. He died for the fight against the very hatred that had made his family hide their name. He once said, with a smile, that they did not have to tell people he began as a Hungarian. The most English star of all was a Jewish outsider to the end. He hid the name Steiner, then gave his life to defeat the men who hated it. So here is my final question for you. Was changing these names a betrayal of who they were, or the brave, clever price of survival in a world that hated them? Tell me in the comments. And if this story moved you, share it, so these real names are never forgotten again.